Hey, good morning, everyone. I hope that you all are doing well out there today. So, just wanted to kind of hop on. I hadn't been on here for a minute. I heard yesterday that the appeals court denied President Biden's plan for student loan forgiveness. And I'll just say, I'm not surprised. I never thought that student loan forgiveness would go through. I personally felt that it wouldn't happen, whether it was just a political play in the first place or whether or not the response is based in politics, or if the response is based in, you know, fiscal conservatism or, responsibility, fiscal responsibility, however you want to put it. I just didn't think that it would go through. I believe that ultimately there wasn't a chance for it to actually go through. That's really all I have to say about that particular piece. But I will say that, I don't have any student loan debts. My wife doesn't have any student loan debts. My student loans, my college was paid for probably 80% with athletic scholarships. My last year I had to kind of grind it out. I had to do a little bit of work in the technology area as far as, sports technology, broadcasting, doing those kind of things. So that definitely helped me out. I had a full ride until my fifth year. After my fifth year, that's when I had to grind out the rest of my time. And then my mom got a student loan in her name as well. My wife, we were able to pay her loans off. I did end up getting over $50,000 in student loans for my master's degree and to cover the first few years out of college because we were broke, and then we got married, we had a baby. So I did end up getting a decent amount of student loans, but we're student loan debt free. So anytime I talk about student loans and student loan forgiveness, like none of it applies directly to me, right? Like I'm not asking for student loan forgiveness because I don't have any student loans. Fortunately, my wife and I were able to pay them off. We learned early on, after we had our financial crisis back in the early 2010 range, we learned like we have to do something about it. Like this is crippling. It is demoralizing to have this much student loan debt. So we were able to work the plan and ultimately dig ourselves out of debt. So like I said, when I have these conversations about student loan forgiveness and student loan debt, it's just me giving my perspective. I'm thankful that we don't owe a dime in student loans. Student loan debt is crippling to millions. And I will say, I don't know what the best option is. We have children who 17, 18 years old, graduate from high school, and they're looking forward to their new lives out in the world, and they are enthusiastic about college, and little do they know that there's a chance that they're gonna be indebted for a long time once they finish those 4 or 5 years. Unfortunately, so many of our kids don't have that guidance. We hold those 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds more accountable than we hold adults a lot of time. Like you have a 17, 18-year-old who can sign up for tens and hundreds of $1,000s worth of, face it, it's unsecured debt. Like if you graduate and, default on your loans, it's not like they could come back and get your degree. They can't repo your degree. They could foreclose on your house. They could repossess your car, but they cannot come back and get your degree. So it is an unsecured loan. And a lot of times you got young kids who have, and I say young kids, relatively speaking, but you have these young adults who have this insurmountable amount of debt at 22, 23 years old. And they didn't necessarily receive the guidance that they needed. Of course, reflective speaking, you can tell people to knock out as many dual credit classes as possible during high school. You can tell people to go to a 2-year university. You can tell people to stay home and get a degree, or work online and get a degree. At the end of the day, not everybody's going to do that, but that's what a lot of people should do. We just need to have conversations to help avoid kids from getting into all of this debt. You know, unfortunately, the people that already have the debt, I just don't think anything's going to be done about that. You know, the best relief that can be done is to put those individuals through some kind of financial courses to help them understand how not paying off the debt is going to be even more crippling. I know people that say they're gonna move out of the country, or people who say they're just gonna keep taking a class here and there so they can keep deferring their debt. And that, to me, that's just depressing. Like, I can't imagine having to make that decision because your debt is so bad. And these are people who a lot of time are first generation college students, and they were just sold this dream that their parents, or they were doing it for their parents a lot of time, because they felt that was their ticket out of whatever situation that they were in. And now it is just crippling them. So I can go on all day talking about this topic. It really hurts just to see that so many people are suffering. And this is suffering that happened, like I said, starting at 17 years old, and even starting before that, because if you think about it, that seed is planted when these young kids are young. Like, hey, you are gonna go to college by any means necessary. And when you're 4 years old, 3 years old, hearing this kind of thing, you grow up, you're like, by any means necessary, I'm gonna go to college. So even if that means me getting a $200,000 burden to go to college just to make my parents proud, but my degree is only gonna afford me a career that gets me a salary of $60,000 a year or $40,000 a year, that kind of stuff is depressing, and it's sad to think about. So obviously I'm one of those guys who, I have a total amount of empathy. I could see things from all points of view, and I just think that moving forward, we need to do something as a country. Like, college should not be as expensive as it is, because what if nobody said, I want to be a teacher? What if nobody said, hey, I'm gonna pay all this money to be a teacher? What if nobody was gonna be a doctor? But hey, that's it for now. I appreciate you all. I have a lot that I could say on this topic, but for now, I'm gonna go ahead and end it, all right? Y'all have a phenomenal day. Thanks for everything. Take care.